Caroline King stands barefoot on cold marble, her eyes wide with disbelief. A single overhead light flickers, casting harsh shadows across the polished floors. In the silence, she can taste the metallic tang of fear. A gloved hand grips her wrist, forcing her to kneel. She gasps, struggling to keep her balance. She's dressed in a once stunning evening gown, now torn at the shoulder and stained with scuffs. The man before her, Grant Lancaster, looks nothing like the charming billionaire she married. His mouth is tight, his eyes darker than night. He hurls a set of photographs onto the floor. The images scatter around Caroline like shattered glass. Each one shows her face twisted in desperation, captured by some hidden camera. She doesn't know who took them or why, but the message is clear. She's a target. Is this what it's come to? She manages to whisper, her voice trembling. Grant doesn't answer. Instead, he snatches a crystal decanter from a nearby table and smashes it against the wall. The shards explode into the air, reflecting the overhead light in savage sparkles. A second figure steps forward. Miranda Cole Grant's secret mistress, lethal in her elegance, stands with a smirk. She's holding a small, unmarked vial. Its contents swirl with a dull menace. Caroline's heart seizes. She's heard rumors of acid attacks in far-off headlines, but never imagined it could happen here, in her own penthouse. Grant's voice breaks the silence. "All those times you said you loved me," he says, each syllable clipped. "Were you lying then? Or are you lying now?" Caroline can't find words. She sees Miranda twisting the vial's cap, glancing at Grant for permission. A flicker of hesitation crosses his face. Then he sets his jaw. This is his final demand for control. Miranda raises the vial, tilting it just enough for Caroline to see the thick liquid inside. Time slows. Caroline wants to scream, but her throat locks. She wants to run, but fear roots her feet to the marble. The solution trickles out, and for a split second, she braces for the burn, but the droplets splatter onto the floor, hissing faintly. Miranda laughs, a cold, staccato sound echoing off the walls. It's a warning shot, an omen of what's to come. Caroline's tears slip down her cheeks, landing near the corrosive puddle. No explanation, no justification, just cruelty. Then the overhead light goes dark, plunging the room into an abyss. Caroline hears the click of heels retreating. She's left alone, heart pounding, adrenaline coursing through her veins. This is the moment that changes everything. In the blackness, a single thought flashes through her mind. What did I ever do to deserve this? But the real story hasn't even started. The shock is only the beginning. Pause. 2-second beat. Caroline finally exhales, trembling hands pressed to the cold floor. In the darkness, she vows to survive. She has no idea how deep this betrayal runs, or how far Grant and Miranda are willing to go. Morning light filters through gauzy curtains in the upscale downtown hospital. Caroline King's right hand is wrapped in gauze, burned from cleaning up the corrosive liquid. A nurse quietly checks her IV drip. There's a hush in the corridor. Despite the bustling staff and beeping machines, Caroline feels alone in the universe. Her pregnant belly, now over 6 months along, tenses whenever she remembers last night's terror. She glances down, imagining the baby's heartbeat galloping with her own. Fear grips her. She recalls how everything started so perfectly. She was the lucky bride, the pregnant wife of billionaire heir Grant Lancaster. Their marriage was the talk of the city. Lavish galas, exclusive fundraisers, a dream swirling in champagne glasses. But behind that glittering veneer, the Harrington and Lancaster families, her in-laws, had labyrinths of secrets. A soft knock on the door. In steps Dr. Genevieve Roberts, a calm presence in a storm of chaos. She's older, maybe mid-50s, with kind eyes. "Caroline," she murmurs, checking her bandages. "You need rest. The baby does too." Caroline inhales slowly. "Rest," she repeats. If only it were that simple. She hasn't told anyone that Grant, her own husband, stood by while Miranda threatened her with acid. She can't believe it herself. How do you explain to the world that the father of your unborn child has become a silent executioner? Robert senses her despair. I don't know the details, she says gently, but I do know you're in danger. She glances at the bruises on Caroline's wrists. Sometimes, the greatest injustice is being silent while others hurt you. Those words slice deep. Caroline feels a lump in her throat. She pictures Miranda's smug face, the hush, the implied threat. In her mind's eye, she replays the scene Grant's cold stare, the acid on the floor hissing like a demon unchained. Across the hallway, a figure passes by the glass panel. It's Timothy Flynn, the Lancaster family's longtime legal advisor. He spots Caroline, offers a polite nod. She shudders. Is he friend or foe, doctor? Roberts touches Caroline's shoulder. Sometimes you must fight for yourself, especially when no one else will. Caroline exhales. She remembers the many times she stepped aside, letting Grant's powerful mother, Helena Lancaster, and his entourage control her schedule, her finances, even her voice. People had begun to treat her as a decorative piece, a billionaire's pregnant wife, with no authority of her own. Now, all that misplaced trust weighs on her like a stone. She's misunderstood, isolated, uncertain whom to trust. And still, she can't piece together the reason for last night's attack. There was no ransom note, no confrontation about infidelity, just raw brutality. She closes her eyes, resting a hand on her belly. In that still moment, she promises the child within her, I won't let them break me. But beyond this hospital room, wheels are already turning. Decisions, threats, and conspiracies swirl, orchestrated by unseen hands. Carolyn senses it an injustice bigger than personal betrayal. This is a power game, and she is caught right into the middle. Later that afternoon, Caroline sits at the edge of her hospital bed. She replays scattered memories of the previous week's small signs she'd ignored. Grant's late-night phone calls, always hushed. Miranda Cole showing up at family events unannounced, claiming professional obligations. She thinks back to the board meeting that she attended at Lancaster Industries 2 weeks prior. She was there to observe and learn, wearing a modest blue suit that struggled to conceal her growing baby bump. Helena Lancaster, Grant's mother, was the one who insisted she attend. Helena seemed so welcoming at first. She'd introduced Caroline to every executive, praising her composure and charm. But Caroline noticed the guarded glances from the board members. She remembered how Miranda breezed in, placed a file on Grant's desk, and left with the barest smile. Something about that exchange felt intimate. Now it all makes sense. That day, Carolyn saw a flicker in Helena's eyes approval, not for Caroline, but for Miranda. She should have realized Helena had bigger plans. A quiet knock interrupts her thoughts. A nurse hands her a sealed envelope. No return address. Inside is a single slip of paper. Stay quiet if you want to keep your child safe. Caroline's heart stutters. She reads the words twice, gripping the paper tightly. Her mind races. Who sent this Miranda Helena Grant himself? There's no signature. Just that chilling sentence. The message is painfully clear. They're warning her. They know she might speak out about what happened last night. They know she's a threat. Squeezing her eyes shut, she recalls Dr. Roberts' advice. You must fight for yourself. But fight whom the entire Lancaster machinery, Grant's mother alone controls more lawyers, private investigators, and media outlets than Caroline can fathom. The injustice weighs on her like a chain, shackling her to fear. Across the room, her phone buzzes. It's a text from an unknown number. I saw what they did. I can help you. Trust me. Carolyn's breath catches. Could this be a trap? Or perhaps a lifeline before she can respond? The phone lights up again, a call from Timothy Flynn. She hesitates. Flynn has always maintained a neutral distance, yet he's been the Lancaster legal strategist for decades. Could he be the one offering help, summoning courage? She answers. Yes. His voice is low. Carolyn, I'm sorry for the confusion. Are you stable? She exhales. I'm alive, if that's what you mean. He's silent for a beat. Then, I need to share something with you. It concerns your place in the Lancaster estate. Meet me at the Redwood Cafe, downtown, tomorrow at noon. Alone, she hangs up, her hand shaking. The Redwood Cafe is a public space. At least, less chance of hidden threats. Still, her stomach knots with apprehension. As evening settles over the hospital, Carolyn stares at the cryptic note, "Stay quiet if you want to keep your child safe." She presses her lips together, heart pounding. She's done being a passive observer in her own life. If they're threatening her baby, that crosses the line. She slips the note back in the envelope, fists clenching. Nothing will stop her from uncovering the truth no matter the risk. The next day, Carolyn steps into Redwood Cafe, scanning the cozy interior. The midday sun filters through large windows, creating pockets of warmth against the polished wood floors. A few patrons sip coffee, murmuring softly. Timothy Flynn sits in a corner booth, his posture stiff. She approaches. He gestures for her to sit, offering a polite smile. But she can see tension in his eyes. "Thank you for coming," Flynn says, voice low. "I'm sure you have questions." Carolyn nods, her jaw set. "Where do I even begin? I was attacked. There's a mistress in my own home. I'm pregnant. And suddenly everyone wants me silent." Flynn steeples his fingers. "I understand. Before we talk, let me confirm. You trust me enough to hear what I have to say." She shrugs, sarcasm slipping out. "Trust might be a stretch, but you're the only one reaching out." He acknowledges her remark, then slides a worn folder across the table. Inside, Carolyn spots old legal documents, some typed, some handwritten, dates from over 2 decades ago. These files detail a secret arrangement. Flynn begins. "It started before Grant was born, involving Helena Lancaster." Caroline's throat tightens. She glances at the scribbles in the margins: assets, shares, trusts, and a name that appears repeatedly: Desmond King, her late father, deceased when she was 5. "How is my father involved?" she asks, heart pounding. Flynn leans forward. "Your father was once engaged in a business venture with Helena's husband, Grant's father, Alfred Lancaster. That partnership went sour. Allegations of fraud, an offshore account. Alfred died suddenly, and Helena pinned all blame on your father. He lost everything: reputation, finances. He never recovered." Caroline's hands shake. She had always known her father died broke, and she assumed it was due to misfortune in the markets. She never guessed the Lancasters were involved. Flynn continues, voice taut. "Fast forward years later. Helena discovered that you, Desmond King's daughter, had caught Grant's eye. She saw an opportunity, a symbolic marriage alliance that would bury any suspicion about the old scandal, merging the two families under one name. It pacified shareholders and presented a neat story." Caroline's head reels. So her marriage was orchestrated, a PR stunt from the beginning. She thinks of her wedding day, the vows, the champagne toasts, all a facade. But if that was so ideal, she presses, "Why attack me now?" Flynn's gaze shifts. He glances around the cafe, lowering his voice further. "Because Helena realized you might uncover the truth that the King family was never at fault. There's hidden evidence Alfred Lancaster framed your father to save his own empire. If that came to light now, it would topple the Lancasters brand. Billions at stake." Caroline's heart pounds like thunder. "So I'm a threat?" Flynn nods. "They're taking drastic steps to ensure you never talk. The acid threat was just a warning. They want to keep you terrified, pliable, or gone." She exhales, tears brimming. Her entire life, her marriage stands on a lie. Quietly, she closes the folder. "What do I do with this?" Flynn looks her square in the eyes. "You decide if you want justice or safety, because Helena won't let both exist." Back in her apartment, one she once shared with Grant, Caroline finds it stripped of warmth. The staff is gone. The furniture is rearranged. It feels like a stage set for someone else's play. She holds the worn folder against her chest. Her mind churns with possibilities. If she exposes this hidden past, The Lancaster name will face a scandal that might bankrupt them. Yet, she's risking her own life, and possibly her unborn child's future. Her phone rings. It's Miranda Cole, the mistress. Carolyn hesitates, then answers. Voice steady. What do you want? Miranda's tone drips with false concern. Caroline, dear, let's not be hostile. Grant is worried about you. After all, you've had quite a frightful experience. Caroline clenches her jaw. Don't you dare pretend you care. You threatened me with acid. Miranda, a pause, a soft laugh. You're overreacting. My aim was never your face, just the floor. That was a caution. Caroline, nothing more. Caroline grinds her teeth, forcing calm. Then what do you want from me now? Miranda's voice lowers. There's an event tonight at the Lancaster estate. Helena wants you present. She insists it's a family matter. Family matter, Caroline echoes, anger simmering. We're well past that pretense. Miranda's tone flickers to annoyance. Come or don't. But if you value your place in this household, you'll be there. She hangs up before Caroline can respond. Caroline drops her phone onto the counter. Everything in her screams to run. Yet, a small, determined voice inside urges her to face Helena Lancaster directly, remembering the folder's revelations. She wonders how many others have been silenced for Helena's sake. Her father died in obscurity, possibly framed, and now she stands at a crossroads, remain silent or fight back with the truth. She walks to the bedroom, bracing herself. There's a large mirror by the closet. She catches her reflection, pale face, eyes ringed with exhaustion. Slowly, she lifts her shirt to see the bruises on her arms from Grant's grip. The memory stings. This is not how a marriage should be. Drawing a deep breath, she decides. She'll go to the Lancaster estate that night, not as a submissive wife, but as someone determined to learn every secret. She'll watch them, gauge how far they're willing to go. And if they threaten her again, she'll be ready to push back. Clutching the worn folder, she replays Flynn's words. You decide if you want justice or safety. Perhaps she can't have both, but she refuses to be a silent victim. She's carried this child with hope, believing in a future built on love. Now she'll fight for that future, even if it means toppling an empire. Stepping away from the mirror, she sets a silent vow, I won't let the Lancasters rewrite my story like they did my father's. Outside, the city hums as evening approaches. Carolyn King steels herself for whatever awaits at the estate. She's bracing for more betrayal. But this time, she won't be caught off guard. Twilight drapes the Lancaster estate in a purple haze. The driveway glitters with imported stones, and uniformed valets guide luxury cars into neat rows. Caroline steps out of a hired sedan, refusing to use the Lancaster limousine. She's determined to show she isn't under their control. At the entrance, servants hold open grand double doors. Inside, an elegant gathering is in progress. No formal ball gowns. This is a private family event. Select board members linger by the ornate fireplace, sipping cognac. Helena Lancaster stands near a grand piano, radiating quiet power. Caroline's heart lurches. She spots Grant in a corner, engaged in hushed conversation with Miranda. The two break apart as Caroline steps forward, each wearing a carefully constructed mask of civility. Grant attempts a smile. Caroline, glad you could make it. She forces a polite nod. Surprised I was invited. Really? Miranda smirks, swirling a glass of red wine. Oh, you know how Helena values unity in times of crisis. Caroline grits her teeth, scanning the room. Timothy Flynn stands by a large portrait, his expression unreadable. Several older men, presumably directors in Lancaster Industries, stand in a cluster. They barely acknowledge her. Then Helena approaches, regal in a tailored charcoal suit. There's not a hair out of place. My dear Caroline, she begins, her tone cool yet maternal. I hope you're recovering well. Recent events have been so unsettling. Caroline meets Helena's gaze. I'm fine, thank you. Helena motions toward the nearest lounge. Shall we speak privately? Caroline nods, and they move to a side room. Once inside, Helena shuts the door gently. The music and chatter outside fade, replaced by a heavy silence. You received a shock. Helena begins, folding her hands. Grant told me what happened at the penthouse. I apologize if Miranda's demonstration was too harsh. She tends to be dramatic. Carolyn feels her chest tighten. A demonstration, she echoes. Is that what you call threatening me with acid? Helena's expression remains composed. Caroline, dear, you must understand the gravity of our situation. The future of Lancaster Industries hinges on certain truths remaining hidden. We all do things to protect this family. Protect. The word stings. Carolyn realizes Helena genuinely believes intimidation and violence are justified for the sake of the Lancaster Empire. Let me guess, Caroline says quietly. You're here to tell me to stay silent. Or else, a shadow crosses Helena's face. I'm not a monster. Caroline, but yes, I expect your cooperation. For your safety. For your child's future. Carolyn's pulse races, but she keeps her voice calm. And if I refuse, Helena's lips tighten. Then you leave me no choice. We can't have chaos damaging the company's reputation. Your father paid that price long ago, though you may not remember. That final line rips through Caroline's composure. She clenches her fists, heart pounding. Helena is confirming the Lancaster role in her father's downfall, perhaps even his death. In that moment, she realizes that any lingering illusions of family loyalty are worthless here. She's alone against a ruthless matriarch. She straightens her spine. I won't be intimidated. Not this time. Helena's eyes flicker with cold disappointment. Then I hope you're ready for the consequences. Outside, the hum of conversation continues. Oblivious to this war declared behind closed doors. Before Caroline can respond, the door bursts open. Grant strides in, jaw clenched. Miranda trails close, a viperish gleam in her eyes. Helena doesn't budge, but the tension is palpable. Grant's voice vibrates with anger. Mother, enough! I won't have this meltdown in the middle of our home. The board is here. Investors are here. Helena turns slowly. You interrupt me, son. Her tone is dangerously soft. Carolyn seizes the chance. Grant, you stood by while Miranda threatened me. You let her drip acid at my feet. Now your mother all but confesses she orchestrated my father's ruin. Grant's eyes flash. Caroline, keep your voice down, he hisses, checking the door to ensure no one listens. Miranda edges closer, her lips curved in a cold smile. Darling, we're trying to save you from yourself. Your wild accusations. They'll sink the company. You'll be left with nothing. Caroline's heart twists. She glances at Grant, noticing the subtle tremor in his hands. Is it guilt or frustration? She can't tell. But one thing is clear, he's chosen his side. Helena steps forward, cutting off any further outburst. Caroline, you're too emotional. You always have been. That's why we decided Grant needed someone else. A partner who understands the family's priorities. That revelation stabs deep. They never intended for her marriage to be about love or genuine partnership. She was a pawn in their carefully orchestrated game. A wave of lightheadedness sweeps over her. She thinks of the baby, how her stress might affect it. Despite her anger, she must protect the child. Suddenly, Timothy Flynn appears in the hallway behind them, clearing his throat. Excuse me, the board is waiting. Grant stiffens, then turns on his heel. We'll settle this later, he mutters, storming out. Miranda follows, tossing Caroline a triumphant glance. Helena lingers a moment, her gaze full of warning. Then she too steps out. Caroline staggers, pressing a hand to her swollen belly. She feels a surge of despair so profound it nearly crushes her. This is the first wave twist, her illusions are shattered, and the betrayal is deeper than she imagined. Flynn motions her to a quiet corridor. He waits until she regains composure. You see how they operate, he whispers. They want to corner you, isolate you, so you'll sign over your rights to the baby, to the estate, everything. Caroline exhales shakily. They can't take my child. Flynn's voice drops. If Helena can prove you're unstable, incompetent, yes, She can. She has a web of legal tactics. And with Grant's backing, you'd be declared unfit in a heartbeat. Carolyn feels her world tilt again. She has no real money of her own. Her accounts are tied to the Lancaster family's finances. She has no strong social standing beyond the Lancaster name. But she's not giving up. Not now. Her father's memory, her baby's future, her own dignity. All are on the line. She squares her shoulders. I'll fight them, even if I have to do it alone. Flynn's eyes soften. You're not alone. I'm tired of Helena's iron grip. 2. If you're willing to trust me, I might know a way to turn this around. It's the first glimmer of hope she's felt in days. Carolyn steels herself. I'm in. Tell me what I need to do. Outside, thunder rumbles, as if the night itself foresees the storm about to unfold. A few hours later, Carolyn slips into a dimly lit room near the estate's library. Her breath catches at the sight of old family portraits and dusty shelves full of leather-bound ledgers. Flynn quietly appears behind her, guiding her deeper into the room. He points to a locked cabinet. This is where Helena keeps certain, sensitive documents. Caroline's pulse quickens. And we're just going to open it. Flynn nods, pulling a small set of lockpicks from his jacket. If we want to reveal the truth about your father's innocence and prove Helena's pattern of sabotage, this is our shot. Caroline stands watch, heart hammering as Flynn works the lock. Each second feels like an eternity. Then a faint click. The door swings open, revealing stacks of letters, financial statements, and manila folders. Flynn sorts through them rapidly. We're looking for anything referencing Desmond King or old offshore accounts. Within moments, Carolyn spots a battered folder labeled with her father's initials, K. She flips it open, scanning pages that detail money transfers, private correspondences, hush payments to potential whistleblowers. Her hands shake as she realizes how methodical Helena had been in orchestrating her father's downfall. You see Flynn whispers, "This could prove everything." Caroline's eyes brim with tears. The second wave twist strikes her with a mixture of grief and fierce determination. Every memory she had of her father as a defeated man makes sense now. He wasn't incompetent, he was systematically crushed. Suddenly, footsteps echo outside the library. Caroline and Flynn freeze. She quickly shoves the folder under her coat, pressing it against her chest. Flynn eases the cabinet shut. Grant's voice drifts in from the hallway. I don't care about the rumors. I need results. Miranda. Mother expects. Miranda cuts him off. We can't let Caroline slip away with any leverage. If she talks to the press, if she sways the shareholders, their voices grow louder, approaching. Flynn motions for Caroline to hide behind a large velvet curtain. He steps forward, trying to appear casual, scanning titles on a nearby shelf. Grant and Miranda enter. They halt at the sight of Flynn. Miranda narrows her gaze. You're up late, Mr. Flynn. He gives a polite, dismissive shrug. Could say the same for you. Grant glances around suspiciously. Are you alone? Flynn nods. Just reviewing some legal precedents. Had a question about the estate's older property laws. Miranda's gaze lingers on Flynn's hands, noticing the faint tremor from adrenaline. Her lips twitch. She doesn't see Caroline behind the curtain, but she senses something off. Grant steps closer to Flynn. I trust you will keep everything in order. Yes, Flynn meets his gaze. Of course, Mr. Lancaster. My loyalty has never wavered. Miranda exhales slowly, then nods. Fine. Let's go. We have bigger matters to handle. They turn and exit. Flynn waits, counting silent beats, until their footsteps vanish. Then he moves to the curtain and helps Caroline out. She's trembling, clutching the file to her heart. They exchange a determined look. They've just stolen Helena's darkest secrets. The second wave of Caroline's comeback plan is in motion, but danger is intensifying. Slipping away from the library, Carolyn can't ignore the pounding in her ears. She has proof, Tana, but if Grant, Miranda, or Helena discover this, the retribution will be swift and brutal. Safely outside the estate, Caroline sprints through the drizzle to a waiting cab. Flynn had insisted on staying behind to maintain appearances. The folder under her coat feels like a live wire. Once in the back seat, she exhales raggedly, tears mingling with raindrops on her cheeks. She gives the driver an address, an old townhouse where her late father's confidant once lived, Mr. Leonard Grayson. Caroline hasn't seen him in years, but she recalls how he used to treat her like a princess whenever he visited. If anyone can help verify these documents, it's him. The cab pulls up to the dimly lit townhouse on a quiet side street. Carolyn knocks twice. A minute passes, and she hears the shuffle of feet. The door opens, revealing a gray-haired man in his 70s, leaning on a cane. His weary eyes widen at the sight of Caroline. Drenched and trembling, Caroline, he whispers, "You look just like your father. Come in, come in." She steps inside, the old carpets and soft lamps giving the place a comforting glow. She spills out her story in broken sentences, Helena's involvement, her father's framing, the acid threat. Grayson listens, expression grave. She shows him the folder. "Please, Mr. Grayson, tell me if any of this is real." He flips through the pages under a warm lamp. His hands shake, but his gaze sharpens as he reads. "My God," he breathes. "I suspected Helena's family destroyed Desmond, but I never had proof it. This is more damning than I ever imagined." Caroline swallows hard, relief and fear entwined. "So it's enough to clear my father's name." Grayson meets her eyes, voice trembling with emotion. "Yes, child. This evidence proves the Lancasters siphoned funds from your father's venture. They blamed him publicly, then bribed officials to bury any rebuttal. It's all here." Her shoulders sag with a mixture of victory and sorrow. This is the third wave twist of her resurgence. She not only has evidence, but it's verified by the one man who can corroborate the details. For a moment, hope surges, but then the door rattles behind her. She whirls around to see a figure standing in the open doorway, Grant Lancaster. He's soaked from the rain, hair plastered to his forehead, eyes blazing. "How did you?" Caroline starts. Grant steps forward, ignoring Grayson entirely. "Caroline, come with me." Now, she stands her ground. "No, not until you explain why you betrayed me." Grant's jaw flexes. "I'm not here to hurt you, but you're putting us all in danger." Mother is beyond furious. She won't hesitate to make this worse. Grayson grips his cane. "Get out. Grant, the evidence is real. Your family's lies end tonight." Grant draws a shaky breath. "I know. That's why I'm telling Caroline to leave. Helena has eyes everywhere. She'll come after you." Mr. Grayson, after everyone involved, torn between rage and residual love, Caroline struggles to read Grant's intentions. The swirl of betrayal is thick, but there's a flicker in his eyes, maybe guilt, maybe regret. She clutches the folder. "You stood by while Miranda threatened me. Why do you care now?" Grant's voice breaks. "Because I can't lose you. Or our child." Silence blankets the room. In that stillness, Caroline senses a deeper layer at play. Could Grant be an unwilling pawn of Helena too? Or is this just another manipulation? Grayson's breath is ragged as he stands guard, his cane pressed against the floor. Caroline holds the folder close, every muscle tensed for a fight. Grant lingers by the doorway, wet shoes leaving small puddles on the worn carpet. "You don't get to pretend you care now," Caroline says, voice edged with hurt. "I'm carrying your child, but you let Miranda terrorize me." Grant's face twists. "I never wanted you harmed. Mother insisted on scaring you into compliance. Miranda took it too far." He hesitates. "I'm not proud of my silence." Caroline exhales sharply. "That silence nearly cost me my life." Grant scans the room as if searching for words. "Caroline, I've seen the file you took. I know it can destroy everything we have." She bristles, an ache blooming in her chest. "So that's it. You're here to reclaim the documents, right?" He shakes his head, frustration boiling over. "You think this is about a piece of paper? Helena's threatened my entire inheritance if I don't follow her plan. She's manipulated my father's legacy. She's done things I can't even begin to reconcile." But if the board discovers all this, I lose the company, yes, but we all lose. Thousands of employees could lose their jobs. Decades of philanthropic work undone. Caroline clenches her fist. That doesn't give her the right to commit crimes or ruin innocent lives. Grayson interjects, voice firm. She's done more than that. My boy. She's murdered reputations and left families destitute. Desmond King was just one of many. Grant's shoulders sag, a broken desperation flickering in his eyes. I know, and I hate it. But if you expose her now, she'll strike back. Hard. People will get hurt, maybe even physically. Caroline's stare pierces him. We can't let fear paralyze us. If we do, Helena wins. Grant steps closer, ignoring Grayson's warning glare. Let me help you. I can't change what I did, but I can keep you safe from Mother's retaliation. Carolyn studies him, searching for any hint of sincerity. The memory of his complicity weighs heavily on her heart, but there's a tremor in his hands and a slight quiver in his voice that suggests he's shaken to the core. Finally, she sighs. I have to see this through, Grant. For my father, for our child, for anyone else Helena destroyed. Grant nods slowly, eyes downcast. Then let's do it right. Confront her. But first, we have to gather everything we need. If we go in half-cocked, she'll bury the truth again. Outside, headlights flash across the window. A sleek black sedan pulls up. Miranda steps out, flanked by two men in dark suits. They stride toward the townhouse door. Grayson tenses. They're here, Grant curses under his breath. She must have followed me. Get to the back exit now. Caroline's pulse spikes. She clutches the folder, mind racing. If Miranda gets her hands on it, they're finished. Grant blocks the front door as Caroline and Grayson scramble toward the kitchen. The confrontation is escalating. No more secrets. No more illusions. Caroline glances back at Grant one last time. He meets her gaze with a nod and unspoken promise. The door rattles. Miranda's icy voice echoes through the hallway. The time for half measures is over. Caroline slips through the cramped kitchen. Grayson by her side. The back door leads into a narrow alley. She peeks out and sees no one yet. A flickering street lamp bathes the wet pavement in an eerie glow. Before they can make a move, a crash resounds from the living room. Miranda's shrill command slices through the townhouse. Find Caroline, get the file. Grayson's hand trembles on his cane. We can't outrun them. I'm too old for this. Caroline's mind whirls. She spots a small basement door near the pantry. Down here, she whispers, guiding Grayson. She flips on a light, revealing steep steps into darkness. They creep down, hearts pounding. The basement is cluttered with cardboard boxes and dusty antiques. Carolyn helps Grayson settle behind an old trunk, then dims the single overhead bulb. Above them, floorboards groan. Miranda's boots clack across the kitchen. Caroline clutches the file, pressing her back against the damp wall. A tense moment passes. Then a deep male voice, one of Miranda's henchmen, growls. Basement doors open, footsteps approach. Grayson's eyes dart around. We're trapped. Caroline steadies her breath, scanning the boxes for anything that could serve as a weapon. She spots a rusted fireplace poker leaning against the wall. With trembling hands, she picks it up. Miranda's voice drifts down the stairwell. Caroline, dear, I know you're down there. Her tone is almost playful. I suggest you come out. Let's be civilized. I only want those documents. Then we can move on. Peacefully. Carolyn's heart hammers. She envisions the acid bottle from that horrific night. Miranda's definition of peaceful is lethal. Grayson lifts his cane, jaw set in quiet defiance. Caroline steels her nerves. She's not a fighter, but she refuses to surrender so easily. Suddenly, the basement light flips on from above. Miranda descends halfway, brandishing a small pistol. Her suits remain at the top, blocking any escape route. I don't want to shoot an old man, Miranda says, eyes flicking to Grayson or a pregnant wife. Carolyn trembles. but keeps her voice firm. Then don't. Miranda's lips curl in a half smile. Hand over the file. I'll let you both walk away. Maybe you even keep a portion of the Lancaster wealth enough to live comfortably. Isn't that what you want? Caroline meets her gaze, refusing to be cowed. You took everything from me. My security, my peace of mind. I won't let you take my father's legacy too. Miranda cocks the pistol, stepping down another stair. Have it your way. In that split second, a clamor erupts behind her. Grant lunges into view, grabbing Miranda's arm. The shot fires, ricocheting off concrete. Sparks flying. Caroline yelps, ducking behind a crate. Grant wrenches the gun away, fury etched on his face. Miranda struggles, hissing curses, but he's stronger. The two men at the top rush down, but Grant shouts, "Stay back." She shot first. Miranda fights with surprising ferocity, nails scraping Grant's arm. Don't you see? Grant, if we don't stop Caroline, she'll ruin everything. Grant tightens his grip, voice ragged. I'd rather lose the company than lose her again. Caroline stares in disbelief. This is the confrontation she never thought would happen, Grant siding with her, against the woman he once defended. With Miranda subdued, Grant's henchmen lower their aggression, uncertain how to proceed. Then a cold voice echoes from the top of the stairs, slicing through the tension. Stand aside. Grant. All eyes turning upward. Helena Lancaster, regal in a dark trench coat, stands on the top step. A single overhead bulb casts a harsh glow on her chiseled features. She looks down at the scene with icy disdain. Miranda pinned, Caroline clutching a file, an old man trembling in the corner. Mother. Grant breathes, jaw tightening. Helena descends, each step measured. She gestures for the two suited men to release their hold. They obey instantly, stepping away from the struggle. Miranda remains pinned by Grant, eyes blazing with hate. Let her go. Grant, Helena commands softly. She's not the true enemy here. Grant hesitates, then eases his grip. Miranda jerks away, nursing her bruised wrist. Caroline rises, file still clutched protectively. You'll have to kill me to get this, she says, voice trembling but resolute. Helena's lip twitches, as if stifling a derisive smile. Don't be dramatic, dear. You think that folder is your shield? I've spent decades weaving the Lancaster Empire into every major institution, banks, courts, government offices. I can rewrite narratives faster than you can blink. Carolyn's stomach knots. She glances at Grant, whose face is taut with conflict. But he stands beside her, not his mother. It's a silent statement he's made his choice. Helena continues, stepping closer. You found a few old documents. Bravo. But do you truly believe you can bring down an empire? You're just a pregnant woman with no allies. No one will believe your claims once I'm done discrediting you. Grayson manages a pained laugh. Power makes you blind. Helena, the times have changed. You can't bury the truth so easily anymore. Helena arches an eyebrow. The truth. She snatches the pistol from Miranda's trembling hand and points it at the folder in Caroline's grasp. Truth is subjective. Bullets, on the other hand, are absolute. A hush falls. Caroline's knees threaten to give way, but she locks them in place. She pictures her father's face, her unborn child's future. Grant's voice quavers. Mother, enough. No more blood. We should negotiate. Helena scoffs. Negotiate with the woman who would see our name dragged through the mud, who stands with the man who once tried to expose us. She nods toward Grayson. There's only one way to end this. Caroline's pulse roars in her ears. She sees Helena's finger tighten on the trigger. In a surge of panic, she lifts the rusted poker, bracing for the worst. In that final moment, the basement door bursts open again. Timothy Flynn storms down, followed by two uniformed police officers. A swirl of frantic motion ensues. Shouts, raised hands, flashlights illuminating the dusty basement. One officer barks, "Drop your weapon!" Helena pivots, stunned. The pistol clatters to the floor. Echoing, Miranda steps back, color draining from her face. Caroline sags with relief, chest heaving. The confrontation is at its boiling point. Yet a new twist emerges. Someone has called the authorities. Flynn, it seems, made his own move. Helena's eyes blaze with fury, but she forces a calm expression. This fight has escalated beyond any quiet cover-up, and now the eyes of the law are on them all. Chaos reigns in the cramped basement. One officer collects Helena's pistol while the other steps between Miranda and Grant, separating them. Timothy Flynn stands by, breathing heavily. He looks at Caroline, relief flickering across his face. "I'm sorry it took so long," Flynn says under his breath. "I had to convince the local police captain to intervene. You know how deep Helena's influence runs." Caroline nods, tears welling. She clutches the battered folder to her chest, trembling from the aftershock of Helena's threat. In a swift move, Helena regains her composure. She raises her chin, speaking to the officers with icy authority. "Gentlemen, I am Helena Lancaster. This is all a terrible misunderstanding. My associates and I came here concerned for my daughter-in-law's safety." Miranda hovers behind Helena, nodding vigorously. "Yes, Caroline's been so distraught. We feared she might harm herself," or Grant interjects, voice raw. "That's a lie. They came here to steal a file from Caroline. They threatened her. I can testify to that." Helena's eyes narrow at her son, fury barely contained. "Grant, you're confused. This is a private family matter." One of the officers glances at Flynn. "Sir, you mentioned you had evidence of an assault." Flynn gestures toward the bullet hole in the concrete wall, the marks left by acid on the floor, and Caroline's bruised arms. He keeps his voice measured but urgent. Caroline King Grant's pregnant wife was threatened with bodily harm, including acid attacks. I have statements from hospital staff and a protective order request ready. Helena tries to intervene. "I assure you these are exaggerations. If anyone has acted rashly, it's my misguided son." Grant winces but stands firm. "No, Mother. This ends now." The officers trade a look. One radios for backup, citing potential evidence, tampering, and assault with a deadly weapon. The other begins asking pointed questions. Helena's confident facade starts to crack, especially when Flynn mentions the hidden documents that implicate her in long-standing corruption. Caroline feels her chest tighten with a swirl of relief and terror. This is the unraveling. Helena's empire is being exposed under the glaring light of law enforcement. But she knows Helena won't go down without a final move. Sure enough, Helena swivels her gaze to Caroline. Her voice drips with menace. "Think carefully about what you're doing. You'll be dragging Grant down with the rest of us. The entire Lancaster name, the philanthropic programs, the employees." Caroline's eyes sting with tears. "That's on you, Helena, not on me." A flicker of genuine sorrow flicks across Helena's face, whether for her downfall or for the brand she curated. It's hard to tell. She lifts her hands in a final gesture of resignation as the officers prepare to escort her out. Miranda stands frozen, cornered by another officer. She shoots Caroline a venomous glare. Meanwhile, Sir Flynn quietly transfers the battered folder into an evidence bag. Grant sinks onto a step, head in his hands. Everything is crumbling around him. Caroline steps closer. She doesn't speak, but she places a hand on his shoulder. Even in the midst of betrayal, she can't help feeling a shred of compassion. 2 weeks pass. The tabloids explode with headlines about the Lancaster scandal. Helena is charged with multiple counts: fraud, assault, conspiracy. Miranda faces legal repercussions for the acid threat and attempted assault with a firearm. A wave of resignations and panic hits Lancaster Industries. Caroline King stands in a modest rented apartment on the outskirts of the city, looking out the window at a quiet street below. She's about to become a mother any day now. Her belly is full and heavy, but her heart feels lighter than it has in months. Her phone buzzes with messages. News outlets beg for interviews. Former Lancaster staff leak stories of Helena's coercion. It's chaos. But for the first time, Caroline isn't afraid of the storm. She hears a gentle knock at the door. Grant steps in, wearing casual clothes, far from the polished suits he once favored. He looks exhausted, but there's a sincerity in his eyes she hasn't seen before. Carolyn, he says softly, I found a small legal firm willing to handle your case pro bono. They'll make sure those documents are put to good use. They'll also help you finalize any independence you want from the Lancaster family. She folds her arms over her bump, voice calm. Thank you. He hesitates, glancing at her belly. How are you feeling? She exhales. Everything's fine with the baby, physically, emotionally. It's been a roller coaster. Grant nods, guilt etched across his features. I know I can't undo the damage. I wish I had stood up to Mother sooner. Maybe none of this would have happened. Caroline looks away. I won't pretend to understand your world, the pressures you face, but you still made choices. You stayed silent while I was threatened. That's not something I can easily forget. A heavy silence settles. Finally, Grant speaks. I'd like to help with the baby's future, financially at least. But if you want me out of your life, I'll respect that. She closes her eyes, tears threatening. I can't decide that overnight. Grant, this child deserves a father, an honest father, not a puppet to Helena's schemes. He bites his lip, nodding. I intend to be better, if you'll allow me. Lancaster Industries might crumble entirely or rebuild from scratch. I don't know. But I'm done playing a role I don't believe in. They share a quiet moment. There's no dramatic embrace, no sweeping forgiveness, only the faint possibility of a path forward that isn't built on deceit. Later that evening, Caroline sifts through documents with Timothy Flynn. Her father's name is cleared. A judge has formally recognized that Desmond King was falsely accused. An official statement is set to be released, restoring his reputation posthumously. Caroline feels her chest tighten with a bittersweet mix of triumph and sorrow. Her father isn't here to witness his redemption, but she carries his legacy and now a new generation. As dusk falls, she steps onto the small balcony. The air is crisp. She whispers to the quiet sky. We did it, Dad. We're free from their lies. In the distance, city lights shimmer. The scandal that once terrified her now feels like a distant nightmare. She breathes in a sense of closure, even if the scars remain. A soft breeze stirs the curtains as Caroline carefully packs boxes in her living room. She's preparing for a fresh start, free from the Lancaster estate's oppressive shadows. Though she's still working with lawyers to finalize her separation, she's at peace with the path ahead. A gentle rap at the door signals Timothy Flynn's arrival. He carries a stack of paperwork, eyes bright with optimism. I just got back from the courthouse, he announces. They've set a date for Helena's trial. Looks like the evidence you recovered is ironclad. Caroline nods, relief dancing on her features. Thank you for everything, Tim. I mean it. He smiles. Just remember, you're the one who risked everything to bring the truth forward. You could have stayed silent. She rests a hand on her bump, feeling a subtle kick. I did it for the baby, mostly, and for my father, of course, but also for myself. I realized I'd been living in other people's narratives for too long. Flynn sets the documents on the coffee table. So what's next for you? Caroline glances at the half-filled boxes. A smaller place, perhaps? I might go back to school, something in counseling or advocacy. I want to help people who've been trapped by powerful families or by their own silence. Flynn nods, stepping back. You'll be amazing at it. She walks him to the door. They exchange a warm goodbye, and he departs. Carolyn stands alone, the hush of the apartment wrapping around her. She picks up the last sealed box, labeled Memories. Inside are photos of her father, receipts from their old life, and a copy of the exoneration papers. Setting the box aside, she notices an envelope slipped under the door. No return address. Her breath catches another anonymous message. Carefully, she picks it up and tears it open. Inside is a single sheet of paper, printed with bold text. Helena Lancaster has arranged an appeal. New evidence is emerging. Are you prepared for round 2? A chill snakes up Caroline's spine. She reads it twice, her heart thumping. Despite Helena's arrest, her far-reaching influence might still manipulate the system. The letter hints at an even bigger legal battle, perhaps an entire second wave of deception. She exhales, pressing a hand to her belly. "We're not finished," she murmurs, a storm of emotions flickering in her eyes. "Fine. If she wants to drag us back into the ring, we'll be ready." Just then, her phone buzzes. A text from Grant. "I heard about an appeal. You don't have to face this alone. Let me help." Carolyn sets the phone down, gaze drifting to the window. Her reflection stares back, stronger than before. She recalls every moment she stayed silent, every time it cost her a piece of her soul. Never again. She gently brushes her belly, whispering to the child within, "I promise I'll protect you, no matter what." A pause. The hush of the room envelops her. And then that final question, echoing in her mind, have you ever stayed silent when it cost you everything? That question lingers, inviting anyone listening, anyone reading to reflect on their own hidden battles. To remember that sometimes the only way to break free is to speak up, no matter the cost.